Hello, good morning, and welcome back. My name's Don Arleth, and it's time for World News here on TVP World. Recovery work is underway across Ukraine as Russia continues its strikes on the country's energy infrastructure. In the latest nighttime address, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced that Ukraine ramped up efforts with foreign partners to produce critical energy equipment. He also added that nearly 58,000 workers are involved in round-the-clock repairs to power grids, generation facilities, and heating networks.
Decisions to increase electricity imports are now being implemented. I would like to thank our partners who are honouring our agreements on the supply of necessary resources, machinery and equipment. In particular, in recent days, our agreements with Italy have begun to be implemented. We discussed this with Giorgio Meloni, and support packages, including very important equipment, are now being delivered to Ukraine. I would also like to recognise the Naftogaz team. Throughout a week, the company's facilities in various regions were hit, with the latest strike targeting gas production yesterday. It is very important that private Ukrainian companies are working together with the government, the state and the public system to strengthen their country's resilience. This is exactly how it should be. Everyone working together as one team for Ukraine.
After months of brinkmanship over Greenland, Donald Trump has just raised the pressure to a new level. This time, it's not rhetoric, it's tariffs aimed squarely at America's closest allies. And the ultimatum behind them could be one that could fracture NATO itself. On Sunday, EU ambassadors met to discuss the issue. Now, an emergency EU leaders meeting could take place as early as Thursday. Gabriela Fresnak reports.
After several months of rising tensions over Donald Trump's interest in Greenland, the US president has raised the stakes once more.
Starting on February the 1st, 2026, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands and Finland will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. On June the 1st, 2026, the tariff will be increased to 25%.
The tariffs would affect the 8 countries participating in the ongoing exercises on the island and would continue to rise until a deal allowing the US to purchase Greenland is signed. While the European leaders are no strangers to the threat of tariffs coming from the White House, they were quick to condemn the move.
We will not be blackmailed. There must be a coordinated European response. This is not how allies should treat each other. We have until February the 1st to really present a united front, to make it clear that we do not find this acceptable.
Even those usually allied with Trump.
The anticipation of increased duties against those nations that have chosen to contribute to the security of Greenland, in my opinion, is a mistake, and of course I do not agree with it.
And some of his closest European allies on the far right.
Trump has violated a fundamental campaign promise, namely not to interfere with other countries, and he will have to explain that to his own voters.
We don't always agree with the US government, and in this case, we certainly don't. These tariffs will hurt us.
The EU leaders stressed that the threat of tariffs only goes to benefit NATO's opponents.
China and Russia must be having a field day. They are the only ones who benefit from divisions among allies. Tariffs risk making Europe and the United States poorer and undermine shared prosperity.
Actually, what this has achieved is the very thing that President Putin would be enormously pleased with, which is actually a fracture within the NATO security alliance.
According to a source at the Élysée, French President Emmanuel Macron is planning to request that the EU activate its so-called anti-coercion instrument that can restrict access to the single market for American companies. The tool, which has never been used so far, allows the EU to respond to instances of economic coercion by other countries with its own retaliatory measures. The Greenlandic Danish delegation continues to hold talks with Trump administration officials.
The talks were constructive, and we also decided to continue working on it and see if we can find a solution that leads to the president abandoning the idea of owning Greenland, while at the same time accommodate reasonable U.S. expectations and requests.
In response to Trump's threats of punitive tariffs, an urgent meeting of EU ambassadors was called in Brussels on Sunday in order to work out a united stance. The foreign ministers of Denmark and Norway, meanwhile, appealed to all parties involved not to forget the ongoing war in Ukraine. For TVP World, Gabriela Fesnak.
A Republican congressman says Donald Trump's threats to NATO allies over Greenland are self-defeating because they could weaken the alliance. Mike Turner told CBS's Face the Nation that ultimately the move could restrict America's ability to project power militarily.
Of the allies that he's talking about putting a tariff on, 7 of them are F-35 partners. 3 of them we have U.S. nuclear weapons on their soil, and 5 of them we have permanent troops on their soil. These are not just casual allies. These are very strong allies. And this is, if we're talking about Greenland, this is not art of the deal. This is more the dating game. I mean, we need to be more on, how we would be a partner, not more how we would be compulsory. And this certainly isn't the type of language that someone should be using and trying to ask someone to join you in a partnership. We're not just in Germany to defend the NATO alliance. We're in Germany to defend Israel and Africa and the Middle East. Our worldwide footprint is our worldwide power. I mean, the presidency's authority, his ability to project power is our NATO alliance, the strongest alliance in the world. To threaten the NATO alliance, to say, well, we'll just pack up and go home, means that the United States doesn't have the ability to project power.
The only security threat to Greenland is the United States, not Russia or China. This is according to U.S. Democratic Senator Mark Warner, who made the remarks in an interview with CBS. The lawmaker also stressed that if Trump decides to attack, he'll be attacking one of Washington's closest allies.
There is no current security threat from Russia or China to Greenland. The only security threat to Greenland right now is the United States. I've been in touch with the bipartisan delegation who've met with the Danes, who are over there now. The Danish people, frankly, are flipping out that their longest ally, America, is now threatening to invade part of their territory. Those other countries that Trump is now threatening with additional tariffs. Remember, the European Union's already got a 15% tariff. The French, the Germans, the Norwegians have all put small numbers of troops in Greenland to help protect it, but also send a signal that if America attacks, they're attacking our closest allies. And I would also point out, America used to have 17 military bases in Greenland. We decided we didn't need them all. We're down to 1 military base, and on that base, there are more Danish partners on the base than American military. The Danes have made very clear that if we want more military bases, if we want more ability to extract critical minerals, they would welcome that. But it ought to be done in partnership, and it ought to be done with the NATO allies.
Iran admits what it has long denied. At least 5,000 people are dead as nationwide protests rage on. As the crackdown intensifies, Donald Trump is urging demonstrators to keep going and claims Tehran scrapped planned executions at his personal request. Now he's chiming a slightly different tune, telling Politico in an interview that it's time to look for new leadership in Iran.
Haunting new figures out of Iran today as local officials confirm at least 5,000 people have been killed in ongoing nationwide protests. That number includes roughly 500 security personnel as unrest appears to be ongoing, including in Valia Asr Square in Tehran. Though the government has shut down the internet and blocked phone calls into the country, its borders remain open, with some Iranians crossing into Iraq to visit family with chilling tales of repression.
Speaking only about my own neighborhood, they suppressed the protests. They killed lots of people.
We are waiting to see what Trump does. In the meantime, only innocent civilians are getting killed. I don't care who the leader is.
As the government confirms thousands of civilians dead, Iranian officials are holding funerals for the security forces who died during the protests. Political science professor Heinz Gertner says it's unlikely outside intervention could help Iranians in their struggle.
The point is that most of the Iranians and those who protest against the regimes, they do not really want military intervention from outside as well, because that could lead to chaos and nobody knows who will come next, and maybe also some branch of the Revolutionary Guards will take over. So there's no plan and no organization. So, of course, they're left on their own.
The protests in Iran have been met with solidarity throughout Europe, including London and Warsaw. Since protests in Iran began on December 28th and Iranian authorities responded with brutal repression, U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered extra sanctions on the regime and now says he is hoping for a big change.
It's time to look for new leadership in Iran.
For TVP World, Randy Potts.
A Polish national who's been imprisoned in Venezuela for the past year will soon return home. According to the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the man is doing well and will be reunited with his family.
Thanks to the coordinated efforts of the group of European Union countries, including the involvement of the Polish embassy in Caracas, a Polish citizen who had been held in a Venezuelan prison for a year without charges or trial has been released. He's doing well and his priority now is to reunite with his family as soon as possible. Thanks to close cooperation with our partners in the Czech Republic, the Polish national is already in Europe and will leave Prague for Poland within a few hours.
Russia is breaking treaties, waging hybrid warfare, and destabilizing the world. These are the warnings delivered by Radoslaw Sikorski during his speech in India. Poland's foreign minister is on a 3-day trip to the country where he'll press for closer defense, security, and industrial ties, while urging support for Ukraine amidst Russia's invasion.
Security and economic cooperation. These appear to be the key discussion topics during Polish foreign minister's visit to India. And as one of his first orders of business speaking at the renowned Jaipur festival on Sunday, Radosław Sikorski cautioned the local audience about being overly optimistic and perceiving Russia as India's close ally.
To anyone who believes that Russia can be trusted, I would like to remind you that Putin calls the Ukrainian people brothers and then murders them. I would also like to remind you that Ukraine and Russia have a border treaty signed by Putin. Let me also remind you of the Budapest Memorandum. If anyone is still unconvinced, please look at the facts.
Ahead of the visit, Polish foreign minister pointed out that Poland and India do not have a unified view with respect to the war in Ukraine. So one of the key goals of his visit is to highlight the Polish and European perspective on the issue. Nevertheless, Sikorski also acknowledged that it is not easy for a country like India to distance itself from Russia.
India has been purchasing Russian military equipment for decades, so we understand that India needs to buy spare parts. But on the other hand, as I mentioned in Paris, we're pleased that Indian refineries have reduced their reliance on the Russian supplier. So we hope that it means that India wants to contribute to a fair ending of the Russian aggression against Ukraine.
Polish foreign minister's visit continues on Monday, and it is intended to strengthen the existing cooperation between Poland and India, building on the strategic partnership established between the two countries in 2024 during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland. From Delhi, for TVP World, I'm Sonia Agata-Wiszczyn.
And last but certainly not least, Polish athlete Klaudia Adamek became the first Pole in history to qualify for both the Summer and Winter Olympic Games on Saturday.
By finishing third at the European Bobsleigh Cup, the Polish duo of Linda Waszewski and Klaudia Adamek secured qualification for the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics, to be held this February. Adamek previously competed at the Tokyo 2021 Summer Games as part of Poland's women's 4x100-metre team relay. Fast forward to Saturday in Innsbruck, Austria, and she once again etched her name into Polish sporting history. Her elite sprint speed is exactly what makes Adamek such a valuable push athlete in bobsleigh, a discipline where explosive power at the start is critical. Waszewski and Adamek's third-place finish in Innsbruck effectively sealed their Olympic berth, with only German duos finishing ahead of the Polish pair. Their qualification marks another historic first. They will become Poland's first-ever female bobsleigh athletes to compete at the Winter Olympics. Claudia Adamic's journey from the Olympic Stadium in Tokyo to the icy curves of Cortina d'Ampezzo is not only a personal triumph, but a milestone that opens the door for future generations of Polish women in winter sports.
And that's all the time we have here on World News. Thanks for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.